Okay, it's working?
Mm.
Okay, good. Okay, Elik.
No, no, not in my name. I ain't gonna play your stupid zero-sum game. No, 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 not in my name. I ain't going to believe you. It's either us or them. Ever since I was a child, when it felt so bad, bad inside, when it feels so bad inside, that a kid like me on the other side have to be blown to pieces. No one misses. No one misses a shot. No one misses a shot. No one misses a shot. When I ask you, Daddy, does it have to be so bad? You lean closer to my head and you said, my little son. It's either us or them. 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 No, no, not in my name. I ain't gonna play your stupid zero-sum game. No, 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 not in my name. I'm not going to believe you till us or them. I'm not a part of your genocide and suicidal mania. I'm not a part genocide and suicidal mania. No, 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 not in my name. I ain't gonna play your stupid zero-sum game. No, 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 not in my name. I'm not going to play your stupid zero-sum game. It's either us or them. You always told me to pretend that it's normal. It's just the rule of law, the rule of life, the rule of nature. But daddy, 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 I don't take it no more. But daddy, 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 I don't take it no more. I'm not going to pretend it's normal. No, not in my name. I ain't gonna play your stupid zero-sum game. No, 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 no. Not in my name. I'm not going to believe you. It's either us or them. No, 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 no. Not in my name. No, 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 no. Not in my name. No, 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 no. Not in my name. No, no, no. Okay.
Okay,
All right, nice.
so
That was great.
Thank
that
you,
was
man.
great.
We always, it's a good way to start, to get into the vibe of like,
Yeah. So, welcome to episode 9 of the Yalla podcast.
I'm Elik.
I am Alon, and today we have with us Saleh. Please say a few words about yourself.
Wait, can we? I forgot my paper.
You
Ah,
forgot
yeah.
your
Can
paper.
we take this? All right.
Okay.
Before I remember
So
who
my
myself.
name is.
Yeah.
Tell us a few words about yourself.
All right. My name is Saleh. I'm a Palestinian doctor living in Sweden currently. I am also a meditation teacher, and my specific interests is personality psychology. I'm well read in that topic, and also personality psychology and its relationship to the human brain. And I'm from Jerusalem. I grew up I was born and grew up in Jerusalem, and I lived in different places in the Middle East, and then I moved to Sweden when I was 18 to study medicine.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
It's nice. It's first time I hear it because we kept this to the episode. Like
Yes,
we're
we kept all the
actually hanging
conversation.
around together, but like it's nice to.
So Elik, you want to explain a little bit about what is
Yes.
Yalla?
So Yalla is a podcast that me and Alon started.
Yep.
We're both anti-Zionists, Israeli Jews, even we reject those terms, but
Yeah, we reject the labels, but these labels were put on us.
yeah, am I? It's an open question for me
Yeah.
still. But let's say human being is enough for a living being.
Yeah.
Anyway,
This is the conversation also, part
yeah,
of the conversation
it's part
that
of
we
the
want to have.
conversation. I'm not saying I'm necessarily not Jewish, for example, but
Yes.
I don't know what
It's
that
more
means.
complicated than
It's
that.
more complicated
Yeah.
that, and we will talk about it because you said you read Yaakov Shapiro, so I'm sure you understood, but that for be later. So, and we wanted to. So we're both anti-Zionists, and
Yeah.
we and what it means in positive terms that we are pro the liberation of Palestine and
Yes, and pro-liberation, period.
period. Yeah.
Yes.
And we wanted to have a podcast that we talk to people that we see are a kind of partners of
Yes. A radical thinking.
our radical thinking, or
Yes.
who have a similar or same vision as us, but also open-minded to speak and talk about it.
Yes, part of the vision is this discussion, right, that we're having.
Yeah, and we wanted to talk more with Palestinians also, and yeah, so you're the third Palestinian on our third? Yeah, third, right? Even though you call yourself a Palestinian, but
So yeah, lately, let's start by talking about this. Lately, I've been thinking about my. We had a conversation before when we were walking in the street, right? So what was the conversation about? You started the conversation, you two. What were you talking about? You remember?
I remember what you said, but I
Yeah,
don't remember how we got there.
Like, do you want to leave? Should you leave?
Ah,
Right?
yes,
You want to explain this point, and then we will get to it. We will get to the point.
Yeah.
It will be
Because
nice.
I shared with Saleh that I have problem with living here. Both fear of like what's going to happen, like with the rising fascism, but also I share the feeling that I'm kind of, even though I'm outspoken and I'm doing this podcast and I'm trying to be active in different ways against like the Zionist regime,
Mhm.
and to try to build something here that is based on like equality and freedom for all the people who belong to this place. But it's kind of, you're always complicit,
Yes.
and you cannot avoiding this. And I always feel, and I have these two guilt feelings, because when you're with your Zionist society, you have this also feeling that you're a kind of a traitor, or and people and
It's both sides.
and so I sometimes this gets in, and I think like, wow, maybe I'm going against my family and friends, even though like I know it's not the truth, but it feels. And sometimes I feel guilty for being complicit with occupation and genocide and all the stuff. I resist because I collaborate with people who serve in the army, and I am. Yeah, and let's
And
say,
you're enjoying the privileges of this regime. right?
yeah, and I thought like, in a way, I support like BDS and boycott, divestment and sanction, because I think this Zionism reached this level that it has to be stopped from the outside. But then, if I'm living here, it's kind of, it's a contradiction.
It's weird,
a bit, yeah.
You had an answer for this, right, Saleh?
Yeah. So I mean, let's look at a little bit about what's going on within you. You first of all, you said that you feel guilt of going against your group, the family, and all. Like that's your social instinct. It's the part of you that wants to belong to, and that's not It's not strange at all that you feel this.
Mhm.
I think it's part of our nature.
This is not hijacking, like we will talk about.
No.
soon.
It's just part of our animal nature. If you look at animals, even animals, they hang out in packs, they hang out in groups. It's very deep within us. So that is.
And it's primordial. That's why I
Yes.
can understand why logically I think what I'm doing is okay, but still feel it.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you have the other, that other part of you that doesn't want to be complicit in the genocide, in the apartheid, in the occupation, and that is coming from a place of principle. It's coming from a higher place than just instinct. It's your values, it's your beliefs. You've thought about it, and then. And then based on that, you rationalize. No, not rationalize. You came up with the idea that, well, then 1 + 1 = 2. Then this must be wrong. If my principles are true, which I believe they are, and I am living here, this means that I am complicit in the occupation. And I think that this can be called ethics. And ethics is when you try to live according to a higher principle, but it is still something fixed. It's not something dynamic. It is something like, yes, it's a principle, we should try to live up to it as an ideal. And then I said, what if we look at the difference between ethics and morality? Ethics is when you have an ideal and you try to live up to it. And you might do that more or less, but it's still something that it's like an ideology. It's not something which is adaptable and flexible.
It's not nuanced enough, maybe.
Yes. So, but then if we look at morality, what is morality? Morality is something coming from a place deeper within you, like. It's something which maybe we could call the human soul. It's listening to your deeper intuitive voice. And that is never tied necessarily to a certain ideal, a certain ideology. It is something which you feel in the moment and something which you feel is right. And
but it's connected to the ethics, right?
Well, I think all ethics emerge from somebody's sense of morality. Most religions emerged from somebody's sense of morality, somebody's sense of righteousness, and then they became these fixed principles that we're trying to adhere to.
And then they become oppressive when they become fixed.
That's why people can think they have very strict ethics, but commit genocide. For example.
Yes, exactly. Because if you have as your highest ethic, the
survival of the Jewish race.
The security of the Jewish people, and nothing else is above that.
It's funny that I said race. I didn't mean, but it's like it is a race.
But let's talk. This is interesting because yesterday, Elik and I. Can I say where we were yesterday evening?
Where we were yesterday?
When we read the book.
Yes. Okay, say.
So we were at Elik's father's office, and he has a lot of philosophy books. So I saw critique of ביקורת התבונה המעשית.
I don't know how it's called.
I think it's
Kant's
critique
book?
of practical wisdom, of practical. Oh shit! I don't remember the name of the book in English. I only remember it in. He has three.
It's the Kant's book.
He has
one
three,
about
so it's the
ethics.
second one. Okay, okay. So the first one is like pure critique of pure reason, right? The second one is critique of like morality, like ethics. And the third one is about aesthetics, okay? So we opened the second one, and I said to Elik, let's do an exercise. I want to do it with your father on screen, okay? Like open Kant on a random page and read what Kant says and say why this says that you shouldn't support what is going on right now. And explain to his father just like simply. And we did it like 3 times and it worked all 3 times, like immediately.
But
related.
Alon is a genius.
No, come on.
Tired.
No, but
it's
it's
reading
related.
is like, you see what he said? And I was like, what did he say?
Yeah, it was like 11 p.m. So anyway. So he talks about ethics and what is an ethical rule, and he says exactly this, that an ethical rule cannot be something of this form, I care about my own tribe. And he explains why, because it is not a rule that is phrased in an objective way, in a way that is outside your own personal, objective desires, okay?
Yeah.
And the rule cannot be such, okay? So he's saying you're like doing an inversion here. Basically, we want to do like a channel where we talk about this thing. So this is this is like the difference. So the ethics, you should have a rule that works, and then you try to apply this rule to real life, okay?
Yes.
But apply an actual rule, not the rule I care about my tribe,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
This is a stupid rule to try to even apply to reality, because it's not a rule.
Yes.
But maybe, like I thought about it, so I have if I take it back to the problem that I have, so ethically I feel I am complicit, and that brings a lot of guilt. But when I listen to my heart and what you call morality, I do stuff. It's not that I'm...
And that's a very good point. I think morality is connected to what you do in the moment, what you feel in the moment, what you sense in the moment, and acting accordingly.
Yes.
And it is something very like practical. Like morality isn't just some ideas floating and we philosophize.
It's practice.
It's like seeing what needs to be done and doing it.
Yeah.
And living according to your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I surrender to fear as well and don't do anything. It's also happens.
But that's also okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's we're animals, right? We succumb to fear sometimes, but not always.
Yeah.
But I want to say something about their trap, okay? So what they're saying is that there is a disagreement on the level of practicality, right? They say, like Yuval Noah Harari told us, I agree with you, but I think that there is a problem on the level of ethics. The disagreement is already on the level of ethics, because our ethics are universal ethics, and we try to aspire to them, and we try to apply that to reality, yes. Because they say that we are naive. They say that we are utopian. No, we just have a different ideal than you. We just have different ethics. And your ethics, so-called ethics, non-Kantian ethics, by definition, by his own words, like he explained this thoroughly, like in the first few pages, okay? So this is not ethics. Your ethics, so-called ethics, are ethics of tribes, okay? Tribe mentality. So this is not ethics. And this is the level that we disagree. And now I want to come to my point, which this whole discussion was about this. So what I said is that it depends on whether you live in Israel or in Palestine. Okay? So I think if you live in Israel, then this is wrong. This is ethically wrong, and this is also morally wrong, I think. Living in Israel means that you've applied the principles wrong. Okay? Because Israel is a crime. Okay? But living in Palestine is fine. I think it's fine. And the point is that I think when I say I live in Palestine, that has practical meaning. That means I want to talk to people who are Palestinian and not settlers more. That I want to make connections with people who are more connected to Palestine and not to Israel. That I want to create a web that is connected more to Palestine and less to Israel, like shift, like move. I think I can move from Israel to Palestine without like changing places geographically too much. I can move from Israel to Palestine, and then it's okay. Then it's not, I think, ethically even wrong. Okay, it's not a problem.
This is very touching to hear you say that. I've never heard an Israeli say that before.
Me neither, and this is why it's scary.
So when I first saw you guys, the first video I ever saw, was it was I don't know, Elik go to the demonstration in Tel Aviv, and
it was this one. It got a lot of views for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, maybe because it was written in a narrative way, like it as a story.
Yeah, we should learn how to do this kind of clickbait shit. We don't know. We don't know how to do it.
Yes, suddenly this one got a lot of views.
Yeah. So I looked at it, was one of the suggested videos that came up. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see what they're gonna say.
Oh, cool.
And then you started saying, and then Alon, you started saying like, I am Palestinian. I'm like, what? This is wonderful. Yeah.
So I just want to say, I've run this idea with many Palestinians so far, with like I think like two-digit number of Palestinians, and they all said yes, you are Palestinian. And also like why not? Like why not? They would say like identity politics would say that this is appropriation, right? This is what they would say. But I don't agree with identity politics, I think. Like politically I have different ideas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, and I also heard it from Palestinians that told me, I didn't say it bluntly like you, but they told me, yeah, like you're Palestinian. And I thought, because it comes from this more, because I think what it was to be Palestinian before Zionism, like it wasn't an ethnic identity.
Yes.
It was people who are here and share the culture.
It was
and the
like
language.
a geographical kind of thing.
Yeah, and there was Palestinian Jews and Palestinian Christians and Palestinian.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the Palestine has always been the geographical location, which is it's very diverse, first of all, and all all ethnicities have lived in historical Palestine.
Yeah.
So, it has religious significance for all three religions. So, and this is something us Palestinians say all the time. Like Palestine is for all three religions. And it's not something, we don't have this racist, supremacist idea that there is a Palestinian race and this land is ours and everybody out, maybe some people, but they're a minority.
So this is what the Zionists keep lying. The Zionists keep lying and saying that this is not what the pro-Palestinian movement is about. They're saying that the pro-Palestinian movement is about fanatic religion. They're saying that the pro-Palestinian movement is about, wanting to kick the Jews out, and they keep saying this. And they always say to me, "You are a traitor. You are cooperating. They want to throw you in the sea." This is
that's the standard phrase.
Can you please just say for the record that it is not? I don't know what to do anymore. Just say if you that it's not okay.
Okay, I will say I'm.
Can you condemn Hamas? We brought you here to ask you one question.
Do you condemn? No.
All this,
Just
beginning was
just
a
say
trick.
the positive thing. Like, what is the pro-Palestinian movement about, in your opinion? Just like in short.
Of all the Palestinians that I've talked about, and as a Palestinian, I can say this: most Palestinians want to live in the land of Palestine.
Yes.
But they do not have any genocidal intentions.
Yeah.
They do not have any intentions of throwing anybody into the sea.
Yeah.
Maybe like a few religious fanatics do.
Yes.
But these fundamentalists exist in all societies.
Yes.
But they are not.
And they certainly
all.
do exist in Jewish society. In Jewish Israeli society.
Like what I want to say is that they're not representative of Palestinians as a whole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not only speaking about a certain part of Palestinian society, like a certain class or a certain part or a certain region. No, like all Palestinians are not. They are not against, in principle, Jews living in Palestine. Because there were already Jews living in Palestine.
Yeah, there were before Zion. They're against Zionism because Zionism is an oppressive ideology.
Yes.
So here is what I was thinking when you were saying this, and I think this can lead us into our discussion very nicely. I know for a fact that 99% of Jewish Israelis, or more generally Zionists, would listen to you saying this and would say immediately, without thinking about it and without considering it, even for 1 second, that you are a liar, or stupid, or ignorant, or all of the above, or something else that justifies why you said this, but not acknowledging that it might, in some reality, be even slightly true. They cannot fathom that this is, and this is how they will react. So here, we start by talking like respectfully, but now we have to be a little bit condescending. We have to be. I'm sorry, we have to be. Because, like, you would not consider it for 1 second. And here's my question. Here is a question that we can analyze. What the fuck, why will they not consider it even for a second? Ever, and no matter how you explain this. And can you please tell what you thought about when you saw our channel and how it connects to my question, okay?
Yes. So during these, during the past months and during the war on Gaza, I've always felt like I need to do something. But I always felt restricted. I didn't know what to do. I like different things were pulling me in different directions, but it felt like I didn't know in which direction to go. And then I saw your podcast, and
the one that we're talking with each other?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called One State
One
Solution.
State.
It's our other podcast.
The One State Solution. And it made me, when I saw the name, it made me even more interested because I am a proponent of the One State Solution.
Cool.
So I like hearing you speak. It's the first time I hear Israelis talk in this way. And you also talked about Israeli society in a very like insightful way that I've never heard before, and it really got me thinking and got some ideas rolling in my head. And yeah, like first of all, I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much.
Because what you're doing is really, it's unique, and it's so much needed, and you are like breaking boundaries, and I have always wanted to be in contact with anti-Zionist Jews and anti-Zionist Israelis, but I didn't know where to find them.
Yeah, we are hard to find.
Yeah.
You know,
but we became more vocal, not just us, and it became a bit more...
Yes, we became more vocal.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We put this podcast out there for you to find.
Exactly. And when I saw you, I immediately felt and had an intuitive feeling that these guys are good people, and I want to know... First of all, I want to know you personally, and I want to reach out to you and have a conversation. And then you suggested that I be part of the podcast.
Yeah.
And
please let me just tell our audience, if you see us, you want to talk to us, you can send us a message, like Saleh sent us a message, and immediately I was like, yes, come speak with us.
Yeah.
We are anarchists. We welcome everyone for speaking if you have something interesting to say.
Yeah, and you can send many times, because sometimes I miss messages.
Yeah.
That's the thing, but it's not because I... push people away.
Yeah. We want to talk to everyone who has something interesting to say, and welcome everyone, and welcome Saleh.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And it's wonderful that we, for us, it's also wonderful that we get to meet all kinds of interesting people and have really deep
what
discussions.
you said, and that you reached out to us. It's really
amazing. And now that I found you finally, and so it's because like many people were telling me, no, don't bother, all Israelis are Zionists.
I can understand why they think that.
Yeah,
because it's like the vast majority.
But I was always thinking, but no, there must exist some people, and I know that they exist, but then it's only a matter of finding them.
Yeah.
So, it's sometimes really easy to forget, like what we're doing, and to get like really discouraged and like desperate, and like when we're surrounded by all this hatred and all this violence, and I get very tired sometimes, and like I want to just stop, I want to just leave, I want to like never mind all this shit, And when you say this, it's like, yeah, okay, there's a reason why we're doing it. This is important. We need to continue doing it. Yeah.
So what happened was that I started thinking about Israeli society and Zionism, and this has always been like a point of curiosity for me. Like, how come an entire society can collectively commit so many crimes and not like
they don't feel that they're committing them even.
like how do they justify this to themselves? How do they what like I was interested in it like from a scientific point of view too, like from a psychological, like how do they do it? How don't they just collapse? How don't they just, you know, how can a father look his son in the eyes and raise him and feel that he's, you know, he's being a good father if he's just ignoring all these crimes against humanity that are happening all around?
The reason why I'm laughing is that I've been having like this feeling all my life, like I'm surrounded by crazy people, and all my life, really, just like in some sense, I think I felt it even when I was very young, and you ask these questions, and I'm like, finally, someone acknowledges that this is happening because the gaslighting, the fucking gaslighting. They make you out to be the problem all the time in this fucking crazy fucking cult. They make you out to be the crazy one because you're against all this. And I think this is like part of it. We will talk more, okay? But this is they gaslight you into thinking that you are the problem, that there is no problem, and that you are the problem for thinking that there is a problem.
Yeah.
And this can drive you insane. And I think for like 35 years I was insane, and then like I started understanding that no, it's not in my head, and like completely rejecting all the gaslighting, and then I felt like a little bit more sane.
And that is why I respect you, because you had enough moral force to break through that noise, that brainwash, that indoctrination.
I don't even know, like, okay, that's another discussion. Like, is it just because I have like a certain personality structure? Like, is it because I was a reject when I was 3, 4, 5 years old? Is that the reason? I don't know. Maybe you can be like a behaviorist and say, yeah, you were rejected when you were young, so you developed this kind of trauma, this kind of personality structure, and then because of this, you are now outside of society or whatever.
But you know, I wanted to react that my experience, because Alon gave this feel. Because we always give ourselves, we're different. Because Alon says, like, I always felt I'm surrounded by but this is not my experience.
Yeah.
And I think this is both true. Because I think the insanity of the occupation, how you ask how people do it. So I think it does infiltrate the Israeli society, but it also doesn't. And for me, many years, like, I did have problems, but I didn't. It's not that I felt that everyone around me are crazy. It's just like, yeah, you're normal. You go to the army, like you don't know exactly what you're going to do there. And there is some level of criticism that is allowed to be said, and that helps the people that wants to feel themselves critical to feel that they are critical about it. Like, maybe I'm starting, because I asking myself why I didn't feel like Alon most of my life. Why did I feel that basically it's fine, and now like I'm starting with this, and you know, when it happens right now, like here we know what's going on in Gaza, like this is the 9th episode of this podcast, and and it's still this genocide is going on, like it's being so normalized here. So, and this is also connects to what I told you before, that I feel bad because sometimes I just allow myself to forget too that it's happening, and I'm part of this normalization and normalizing society.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't know what's the question. It's like kind of, it relates to what you asked about, like how can society do?
Like it's how the level of brainwash, how it is done, and how we can break free from it.
Yeah.
And then like the question that you raise, why is it easier for some people and not others? That's a very important question, and it's something we can talk about. But I also want to say like the path to liberation from brainwash, and or as we can say like the path to truth, looks different from person to person.
Yes,
and so for some people, you know, it's obvious from the beginning, but other people, they have to go through a process in order to get there. It's very individual, because I believe that each person's liberation path is very different and very individual, both like on a social level and on a political level, on a intellectual level, and on a spiritual level too.
Yeah.
So
So maybe can you explain two things? How this connects, how this discussion connects to your fields of expertise, and what kind of process did you do with this kind of questions? And only one question.
Yes. All right. So it got me started thinking about a question. As I said, you know, like I've always been interested in like how does this brainwash work?
Yeah.
And you know, I've always realized that, you know, like the military has always been an important part of this indoctrination.
Yes.
And also like the sense of that we are different, we are not like other nations, we need to protect ourselves, we are among enemies, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of narratives that are being told.
Yes.
And these narratives hijack our ability to think for ourselves, to think rationally. Narratives or stories, they speak to our the emotional parts of our brain. When you want to teach a child a certain lesson, you tell them a story, because a story is very, very powerful. It's like, that's why in advertisements they tell a story instead of telling you facts. You know, like this product is so this many percent successful. No, you show somebody who's really enjoying it, and then something difficult happens, and then they, you know, make use of the product, and then everything's good. A story is infinitely more powerful than facts.
Yes.
And why is it that? Because it speaks to our emotional brain. And this is the field that I am interested in. It is the neuroscience of emotion. It's also called a field called affective neuroscience. That's the term. And so in affective neuroscience, as it is described by Jaak Panksepp, who was the one who is a neuroscientist who coined the term, we have 7 primary emotional systems in the brain. And these systems we share with all mammals. So all mammals have these emotional systems. And I will get to them in just a second. But first, I just want to say, why do we have emotions in the first place? And what are emotions? Emotions are, like, we can call them neurological algorithms. They are a set way in which an animal behaves, in which if something happens, the animal behaves in a certain way very quickly, without, you know, needing to do any higher processing or anything like that. It just happens instantaneously.
Yes.
If there's a loud sound, the animal runs away.
Like on a chemical and electrical level, right?
Yes. So it's like a set program. It's,
yes.
And it has to do with like a nervous system, right? Because you feel something very strong when it happens.
Exactly. And why did these emotions evolve? Because they helped us survive. Because, you know, fear is an emotion that helps you survive.
Yes, of course.
If you know, an antelope is chased by a lion, you know, if there's a program that allows it to immediately react by running away, then it is saved.
Yes.
Same thing with all other emotions. Rage helps us survive by protecting ourselves.
Yes.
So,
can you name the 7 systems?
yes.
Just name
So
them.
we come to them. There's fear,
Yes.
rage, grief. These are the 3 negative primary emotions. There are 4 positives. There is the seeking system, which produces emotions of enthusiasm and curiosity
Yes.
and excitement.
Yes.
You know,
It's the things that makes us drawn to something.
yes,
Yes,
Makes
okay.
us research, explore.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and it is driven by the brain chemical dopamine.
Dopamine, yeah.
It makes us. It like you have a goal, you strive towards that goal.
Yes.
That's how it is on the human level. On the animal level, it's like looking for food, shelter,
Yes.
all the resources that you need to survive.
Yes, of
That's the seeking, the seeking system. And then there is lust.
Lust, okay, yes.
Sexual desire.
Yes.
It's traditionally not considered to be an emotion, but an instinct. But emotions, these primary emotions, are also instincts.
Yeah,
so
the separation is not so clear, right? There's no real cutoff.
We know people feel something very strong when they're attracted to someone
Yes.
sexually.
Yeah, we know that.
exactly, and it creates a stereotyped pattern of behavior. So
Yes.
therefore,
Yeah.
it is an emotion.
Yes,
Like
okay.
to call it emotion, it has to have some behavioral patterns,
Yes,
or
attached
not
to it.
necessarily.
It's like behavioral or physiological patterns.
Like the impulse to do something.
yeah.
You can repress an impulse, but the impulse is still there.
Exactly,
Okay.
because emotions are never neutral. They either make you move away from something and react negatively to it, or positively to
or
it.
positively.
Because
Okay. Yeah. So we have the seeking, the
Lust.
lust, yes.
And
what else?
then we have the care system. The
Yes, care.
care system is the feelings of paternal or maternal love towards your offspring.
Yes.
But it is also the kind of love which you feel with other members of the
Yes.
community.
Yes.
It's a social instinct,
Yes.
and that of course helps us survive. That our young survive better, and our communities are
Yes,
more
yes.
cohesive.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Having a social network is
Yes.
adaptive, evolutionarily
Yes.
speaking. It's just like a thing that helps certain genes succeed. So it's a thing that is biological in nature.
Yes.
It has a biological basis.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the last one is called the play system, and it produces the emotion of joy. And it's one that makes animals exhibit playing behavior. They play, they wrestle, they pin each other down, and this creates a sense of community. It's about communication, reciprocity, cooperation. It's how young animals learn social rules and social hierarchies. So that's also instinctual.
Yes.
Yes. And these exist within all mammals, including humans. Yes.
So I know that there is dopamine and there is oxytocin.
Oxytocin is the care system.
Care system.
Yes, yes.
And is there a hormone that's connected with like the play system?
The play system, it's all kinds of different,
It's different things.
I'm not sure exactly if there's a specific hormone for the play
Yeah,
system, because there's so many different ones.
Yes, okay.
The lust system, for example, is activated by testosterone.
Yes, testosterone.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So
Okay, amazing. So you say that all of these systems are being taken advantage of, right, by ideologies.
Yeah, so what can happen is that these are very strong forces within us. This is the animal within us.
Yes.
And so when these systems are activated, when they are activated strongly,
Yes.
we lose our capacity to think rationally
Yes.
and to be able to reflect upon what we are doing.
Because it's just like something more fundamental in our
Yes.
operation system, if you
Yes.
want. It's like hardware and not software.
We can say that in the brain there are three different layers.
Yes.
There is the primary process layer, in which all the instincts and these emotions exist. These are the instincts with which we are born.
Yes.
Then there is the secondary level, in which a very primitive, a secondary process level, where a very primitive kind of learning happens.
Yes.
Where you know where we get conditioned.
This is the order they developed also, like the first
Like
layer
evolutionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we can say that the brain it's an archaeology.
There's like layers.
Yeah, exactly. Like his book is actually called The Archaeology of Minds.
Okay,
where,
interesting.
Like it's consists of different layers, and the outer layers are the ones that are more recent, that developed more recently.
And is this like a claim of the theory, or is this like just biological fact? I'm just ignorant about this. How much of this is like really the way that all neuroscientists think about the brain, or
I think that it's pretty much a consensus that that the brain is a multi-layered organ, and that the lower levels are more primitive in terms of evolution. I think that is.
So this is like a model of the brain.
Yes.
That is like justified by the data that we have.
Yes.
It might be completely correct. It might be kind of correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like a competing theory in the field of neuroscience.
Yes.
Okay. Fine.
So there's the primary process level. There is a secondary process level where this conditioning happens, where you know, like something happens. It causes fear in you, and you weren't afraid of that something to begin with, but after that experience you start to become afraid of it. So it's a very basic, primitive kind of learning that even
this is conditioning.
This is conditioning.
Or trauma response, like you can call it trauma response, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then there's a tertiary process level, and there, which happens on the level of the neocortex, the outer layer, and this is where our ability to reflect, to plan, to make decisions, all higher brain processes. This is where they occur, including morality.
Yes.
Yes.
Like morality doesn't happen in this primordial emotional.
Or maybe this is the difference between ethics and morality. Maybe morality is more on the second. I think morality is like in all levels, right? Morality is like spread on all of these. Maybe like anything deep, it cannot exist on only one level, right?
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's
like music, it exists on all levels.
Yeah,
right?
of course. First of all, it depends how you define morality, and also, like these are not separate from each other. So when we use our tertiary processes on the top level of the brain, we are also like they are not separate from the primary and secondary processes. They are working together in concert. So a well-regulated brain is one in which all three layers are working in harmony.
So in a way, what you say, and that's why we get to the topic of how indoctrination kind of it interfere, and it makes it not work incoherent way,
yes.
right?
Yes, it's an outside interference that plays with it and connects it in ways that should not be connected.
Exactly.
So this is what we need to get
like detaches some connections and creates other ones and creates like I don't know, like log jams of things flowing harmonically.
We could picture it as if indoctrination causes an overactivation of the primary and secondary process level to the extent where it becomes dominant, and there's no longer that use of the tertiary process level. So we don't no longer think rationally, we think emotionally.
So there is use, because you talk to that, but maybe this is what we talked about with Daniel Mate, right? That Zionists are like werewolves, okay? So you talk to them, and the subject of Gaza, Palestine, the genocide, or the Eurovision comes up, and then they start they become different creatures.
Oh.
Sometimes something happens and something snaps and they
Switches,
start acting completely differently,
Yes.
and then they start yelling at you and cursing you and doing all kinds of horrible things, and then they kind of the moon passes,
The moon passes.
and they kind of wake up and they go, oh, that's my friend Alon. That's why was I? But they don't have this moment of like reflection. The reflection they don't. It's like a split personality kind of thing. And I think this is the thing. This is what you're talking about. Like the virus, the thing that we're talking about, the ideology. It shuts off the higher, the tertiary processes, and it's like they continue operating because they continue talking to you.
Yes.
But it's not them. It's not them that are talking to you. It's something else that's talking to you.
Yes.
Yes.
And this reminds me of a quote by Carl Jung, which is people don't have ideas.
Yes.
Ideas have people.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think this is very true. Like we can become possessed by an idea to the extent that we think that this is our own. This is our own thinking. We don't even know that we're possessed by it. And the clearest example is Nazi Germany.
Yes.
The whole population was possessed by an idea, and the idea was wrong, and it was stupid, but still it's captured an entire population.
But I thought about it. A friend asked me, did an interview with me in Hebrew about my position.
Mm-hmm.
Some time ago, and I thought after the 7th of October, it feels like everyone here was full 100% possessed by, now I felt it a bit. I feel it has levels,
Yes.
But
almost everybody. Some people went to the other side.
Yeah.
Some people went like us. We went more radical.
Yeah.
Right?
We became more.
We
radical.
became more vocal, like we discussed earlier.
But
briefly.
it was also a reaction to what we saw.
Yes,
I felt it when suddenly you talk to many people and a lot of them say stuff that you say I know this person. It's not that you don't believe in it, right?
Yeah, it's no longer a temporary
but
situation.
Something shut, and it's I don't care what they're gonna do to them. And it's really, you don't care what they're gonna do to 2 million people? It's 2 million people. It doesn't matter what's your political opinion. Just think about what the implementation of what you're saying now. And people are I don't know, my heart is shut. There was many people who wrote this. My heart is shut after the 7th of October. And I don't care about Palestinians anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought I was also shocked by the 7th of October. I also watched the videos of some of what happened in that party. I saw Hamas fighters go and shooting innocent people. It was terrifying. But for me, it wasn't even question one moment if it justifies killing babies in Gaza. The answer was still no. Even though I went through all watching it and feeling fear and I was wondering why to me seeing this didn't matter, and it's not that it didn't touch me emotionally. And this, I think it gets to what you talk about, the indoctrination, and the people told me we're acting like it's the natural response, but I felt okay, I saw what happened and it's not the natural response for me. So I wonder, and it's part of what you're talking about, right? The moment it's the ideology catches your brain and make you behave in a way that you say, wait, that's the natural way to behave. You believe it's part of who you are and how.
Exactly. And that's very interesting. I would like to go deeper into this point. What exactly happens? What happens when it just switches?
Yes.
And the werewolf comes out, and that they no longer are able to think as they otherwise would be able to do. So, if we look at it, according to this neuroscientific model, then we can say that what happens here in this case is that the emotions take over. the emotions take over, and we can no longer use our tertiary reflective brain processes. But why does that happen? Well, it's because these emotional systems have been hijacked. They have been hijacked by a narrative. They've been hijacked into being conditioned. They've been conditioned in a certain way, such that the emotions are directed towards certain objects, certain people, certain situations. And so, for example, we can say that, let's look at the example of fear. How,
Yes.
like fear is a very big part of it. Fear is a very big part of, as I see it, of Zionist indoctrination. There is a fear well, first of all, there is the collective fear that exists within the Jewish community historically, because of the persecution. So that fear is already there. It's already present. And as I've understood it, the early Zionists, in the days of Herzl and later, they directed that fear to serve their specific political agendas.
Yes, yes.
So in this way, the fear was hijacked into being directed to specific objects.
Yes.
So for example, when it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, we become the new Nazis.
Yes.
The Palestinians are the new Look, they're the Nazis, and the Jewish collective psyche is already traumatized. Like when the word Nazi comes up, there's a little alarm signal that goes off, and then they associate Palestinians with Nazis, even though I don't know how we are related, but and then the fear of the Nazis becomes directed towards the fear of Palestinians.
Yeah, and this. I just have to mention the Feiglin.
Yes, of course, I was thinking the same thing.
Because it shows you how, because Nazism is also based on fear, right? And Zionism is, in its latest new phase, is so similar to Nazism, like how they talk and how they speak. And it got to a point where an Israeli politician quoted Hitler. Did you see it?
No.
He said, all of the Palestinians and Muslims in Gaza are Nazis.
Yes, they're
and he
Muslim
said,
or Nazi.
and then he said, may I quote Hitler, just like as Hitler said, I cannot live safely while a Jew is alive, so I say the same, I cannot live as long as these Islamo-Nazis are alive.
It's
it shows you.
And you stand in front of this and you're like,
It's
do you not see the contradiction? Everybody sees! Everybody sees! You do not see the contradiction. And this is explained by this deforming of the tertiary system is not... The tertiary system is required for... what is the name of this process of... when you imagine that someone has a brain, right? The thing that... when you're on the spectrum...
Yes.
It is...
what is it called?
I remember. I used to know. Theory of mind.
Theory of mind. Yes.
Theory of mind. What is theory? Okay, let's explain. What is theory of mind? It's when you understand that someone else has a mind. You have a theory of their mind in your own mind. So this is called theory of mind. This is something that doesn't happen immediately when you are born. You don't have this when you are born. When you are a baby, you just go wah wah wah, and you get food, and you get it. You don't need it. But slowly, when you're like 2 years old, 3 years old, you start having a theory of mind. So, for example, you start lying. You cannot lie if you don't have a theory of mind, because lying depends on assuming that someone else has a different point of view than you, and that you can manipulate this point of view. So children start to lie only when they are 3 years old, I think, something like that. So look at Feiglin, he does not have a theory of mind, something that 3-year-olds have, a functioning process of theory of mind. He does not have it. Why? Because he cannot think how other people would perceive the way that he speaks. He says, they are Nazis, and here is what Hitler said, and I agree with him. This is, and he says this in the same breath. Okay, in the same breath, he says this. They are Nazis. This is what Hitler said. I agree with Hitler. And he cannot imagine that someone else will see it differently.
Many Israelis would look at it. Many Israelis would say, wouldn't see the problem.
They wouldn't see the problem. They wouldn't see that. So the Zionist left would say, yes, he's crazy because he's not part of our. But they would say things that are not less crazy, only maybe slightly less apparent, maybe slightly less transparent, slightly less obvious. I don't know. But things that are crazy. So this is, you see, the tertiary level of thinking. So theory of mind is on the tertiary level of thinking. Yes. So of the structure of our brains. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
And this is why they will not listen to you when you say this is what because the tertiary system is not functioning. They will not be able to imagine that you think like. They have a theory of mind of you wanting to destroy them, of something very, very raw, very like simplistic, right? And they cannot go to okay, so he thinks differently than what I think he thinks. This is something that they cannot do. They cannot do.
Yes, and that is why it is very difficult to have a discussion, a rational discussion with a person who is indoctrinated. Because they're not using the rational part of their brain. You're not, and I've experienced this many times. You know, like when talking to, religious fundamentalists, for example. You know, like you touch a sensitive point, and then it just shuts down.
Yes.
And they use every trick in the book except to respond to your argument.
Yes.
And like whether it is denial. Gaslighting, saying, but what about that thing?
What
and
about
they say about something completely different. It's as if they're like an eel, like a fish, and you're trying to grab it, but it keeps like they keep changing form, and at the end you're like, you know what, just.
Never mind. What can
I do? What can I do? I'm trying.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is the difficulty, and when people are so taken over by their primary and secondary process emotions and processes, it's difficult to have irrational discussions, and that is why, when many peace activists say, well, let's just sit down and talk and have a conversation. I mean, it's more complex than that.
Yes.
Because it's difficult to have only a conversation with somebody who is indoctrinated.
Yes, and we need to just say this, that this is something, you alluded to this, this is something that we're not just saying about Zionism, okay, or about Zionism. This is the product of all ideologies, of all cults.
Yes.
We use different terms, but the point is that there is some kind of mechanism that uses the first two layers of your brain to shut off the third layer of your brain. And this process is called fascism, it's called ideologies, it's called cults, it's called mind viruses, it's zombie movies, I don't know what it is, but be careful of it. And there are many different such structures in reality, and all of them are oppressive systems, all of them are characterized by supremacy, by separation, by all kinds of things that we will talk about through Zionism, but it comes in many forms.
But I want to say, to push back against this a bit, that I also react very emotionally when I speak to people about this, and sometimes I didn't feel like every argument I succeeded to remain calm. And sometimes I feel I have no ability, because I get so angry and frustrated, I have no ability to think about the historic narrative and the facts and who's,
But in what situations are you talking about? Like when you're discussing about your principles, about.
Yeah, like I had discussion with my father that he justified the genocide, or he said it's not a genocide, and I got very, very angry and irritated, and he also, but he remained more calm. I was like, I cannot accept it that my father is speaking like a Nazi, and he was like...
But I think there's a very important difference here, is that, human beings in a natural state, it's not that we're only supposed to use our tertiary processes. It's impossible. We are emotional beings. We are animals. We have emotions. It's as much human part of the human part as any other mental or psychological function. But the difference here is that those emotions are your own. It's your emotions. They come from a like a sense of indignation that you're feeling that somebody is not like acknowledging basic fundamental human rights.
Yeah.
And
this ability to acknowledge is part of makes it happen.
Yes.
So like that's what portrays
exactly.
me.
No. So I'm not a person who thinks that we should just be robots.
Yeah.
And that be completely rational.
Yeah.
No, but the question is, of course we have emotions and we should have emotions, but are they our emotions? Do they come from our like our inner reality? Do they come from our soul?
Yeah.
Or are they imposed on us through a collective, insane,
So I have a question about this. Because, let's say, so I want to do the best that I can do, okay? And I listen to you speak and I say, okay, so I want to know if my emotion is truly my emotion or something that is imposed from outside. And I must tell you that when I was speaking to Zionists and other people affected by ideology in their werewolf state, they certainly told me so, and it seems like they genuinely believe it, that they are operating from the same place, that they also have their own emotions and they are connected to their emotions. They believe it completely. If this cannot be identified from the inside, so what can we do? Like, we need some kind of... I don't know if such a thing exists. Maybe that's the problem. We need some kind of way of asking ourselves, okay, how do I know? How do I know if this is my own emotion or not my emotion? How do I find out for myself?
Yeah, because my parents and people around me think that I'm being manipulated by the pro-Palestine cult, and that is extreme, that is not rational, and they... Like, and sometimes that's what I told you at the beginning, that you live in this society and you start asking yourself. And then I'm like, wait, what are we talking about? Like, 15,000 dead children, okay. I'm not the crazy one, but I have to look in the mirror and, tell it to myself every day.
So how can we tell? What is like the criterion from the inside if we don't know?
I think the criterion is... do you want to know? Many people, like, some people want to know. They want to know if their emotions are coming from a genuine place or not, and that is the difference. Some people they do not have that curiosity of knowing what is the motivation behind their words, behind their actions, and so that is the indicative part. Like, what do you want?
And, I'm not sure about that. Because like some people, they get sucked into... There's a society here and there's a big system of propaganda. Even people who are curious for the truth, they can get confused by systems that literally wash their minds. Like they will watch the news and they will tell themselves, okay, my father, okay?
Yes.
He is someone who cares about knowing what is going on. He cares, he has this value. So he reads the newspaper.
Okay.
So he watches the news. So and then his son comes and he says, no, it's all bullshit. And he's like, maybe it is.
So why doesn't he go and check?
Exactly.
His own son tell him, please, father, go look. Why doesn't he go? Because deep inside him, he doesn't want to know. That's the point.
But he will tell himself, yes, I checked, I did all I can. I'm doing the impression of mine. Yes, I checked. What do you want from me? He says this, you say this.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
always
what the
he
truth
says-
is.
yeah.
But that sounds to me like somebody who doesn't want to know. He's just taking
Yeah.
the first best explanation, so he doesn't have to think. But who is the person here who is
So talk to
trying
my father.
reach-
Talk to my father for a moment. Daddy, if you're watching, tell him what does he need to do from the inside. Like, let's be very concrete. My father is in this situation, in this position. What should he do so that his son is not mad with him anymore? Help us! Come on! I put you on the spot.
But
What can I tell my father?
What I would say is, if you want to know the truth,
Yeah.
if you really want to know it, you will find it out, and your desire for the truth will drive you to look for the right sources. And
Yes.
those sources are usually not the local newspapers.
Yes.
Those sources are the real flesh and blood human beings.
Yes.
The Palestinians, talking
Yeah.
to a Palestinian. If you want to know, then talk to a Palestinian,
Yeah.
Yes.
as you are doing.
Yes.
And that is the difference. Like, how much do you want to know, and how much are you just rationalizing to
Yes.
yourself? Are you looking for the truth, or are you looking for an explanation to just make you forget about it? And
Yeah, and many people that I know dissolve into this place Alon said of like, I don't know, like you say this, he say this, so, and how do I know what, if you tell me it's true, okay, so I don't know if the Israeli media is true, but I don't know if what you will tell me is true, like you
go nihilist.
You
Yeah.
go nihilist, or you know,
Or relativist, more
Yeah,
relativist.
relativist. Yeah,
Yes.
this is the safe place to be in.
I think that to me is intellectual sloth. It's
Yeah.
it's laziness.
Yeah,
It's being I don't want to think.
Yes.
I don't think that is justifiable.
and it's a lot of time justified by like kind of postmodern philosophy that there is no truth. And
So
There's,
let's analyze
yeah.
this a little bit. Let's
Yeah.
analyze this a little bit, because maybe we can get it, because I'm trying to understand. Okay, so let's just say something explicit. You are saying that all of these mechanisms, right? That you specified 7 mechanisms, 3 negative and 4 positive,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
They're all being used.
So you're saying, yeah, they're all being hijacked by this ideology, and that this leads to shutting off of the tertiary system,
Mm.
right? So let's.
Well, not. I mean, it's not. They're not necessarily all being used
Yes.
in Zionist indoctrination, but they can all be used in some form of indoctrination.
So let me just say, when you specified them, I was thinking about the Zionist, and I was like, okay, I have an example for this.
No,
Like we can
no.
talk about this explicitly.
Absolutely.
I think that you can find an example easily for any
Yes.
of the 7. But how does this kind of thing, like the liberals, okay, what do they do? Like, what does the ideology tell them to do to like step away from the situation? What kind of system does that, like, what kind of emotional need does that satisfy? What is the, maybe we can solve this here?
I mean, it's when it comes to liberal indoctrination,
Yeah.
it's well then we have to look at their, you know, like what are they trying? What are their motivations?
So what are, yeah.
Yeah, what like, so if I give the question back to you, like, okay, so what are the liberal motivations? What do they want to feel?
I think they want to feel like they're good people.
Good people, yeah.
Yeah, this is why it's created, because they want to satisfy the tension between the two sides. That one of them is like supporting the things that they know to be wrong, and they have some idea, and the other is wanting to feel that they're good people.
Yeah. I mean, in all forms of indoctrination, there is of course some kind of fear, because you don't want to go against the norm. And you know, so fear is always there. But then there are also the social instincts, you know, characterized by the care system and play system.
Yes, the care.
Where you want to belong to a certain group, you don't want to, you want to adhere to what that group is thinking. You don't want to stray too much away from it. if you define your goodness by that, by what that specific group is saying, then you will let go of your own principles in order to satisfy some kind of, collective liberal.
Yeah, and then the tertiary system kind of like goes haywire because it's like it stopped working, so it needs to kind of it needs to kind of satisfy itself.
Yeah.
So it makes up excuses to like shut off the because it's like
exactly.
it's like you fell on your back and you're trying to get up and nothing is working, right? It's like
absolutely.
Yeah.
We can describe it as if in indoctrination the primary emotional systems are being hijacked, and then the primary systems hijack the tertiary systems, the processes. So it's.
I also sorry.
No, please.
I want to say, but it doesn't shut up only the ability to think rationally. It shut up also compassion, the ability to sense empathy for other creatures. And I thought like the primal, a lot of our primal emotion you describe are very, very influenced by compassion and and the maternal love and all this stuff. These are being, I don't know what happens to them when you're infiltrated by this ideology, but
so that's a very important point, that each of these primary emotional systems, they connect to the tertiary processes, to the higher brain regions, and they become a more refined version of what they are on the primary level. So the care system connects to the neocortex on the top of the brain and gives rise to empathy.
Yeah.
So when the three levels are working in harmony, you feel care, and that is connected to a sense of empathy, which is on the tertiary level. And you feel a sense of empathy and compassion with others. But if the primary and secondary processes are running on overdrive, then the empathy is taken out from the picture. Or a very narrow form of empathy is there, in which you only feel empathy
to your own people,
to your clan, or to your group.
I had a case. I think that's a nice example, and maybe we can like do a game where we go over one of the systems and give an example.
Absolutely.
So I will just say this. This is my therapist, okay? Who is no longer my therapist. And she, starting 7th of October, she completely flipped, and now she's a full-on Zionist. And I noticed that what happened with her is that she says, I care about my children. I care about... She became the think of the children lady. From the meme from the Simpsons, you know the meme? She became that. No, it's from the Simpsons.
It's Simpsons.
She became that, okay? She became that. Won't somebody please think of the children? That, okay? She became... That's like 100% of her I don't know, being now. And she didn't used to be that, but... She did always have that. She always said, yes, I take care of my children. So I think this is an example of something being hijacked. The care system, right? The care of a mother to her children is being hijacked so much that she is being convinced to do things and support things and to act in a way that will put her children in danger. In danger. So I think that this is a prime example of how this system is being hijacked, and I think that this is like, I want to say something more general that connects to what you're talking about, that I've been thinking a lot of times lately, that I see the Zionists, and every time they are so pathetic, and when I try to understand why they seem so pathetic, I see that they're trying to be good. Like there's no, it's not like they're bad people. It's most of them, the vast majority of them at least, like they're not bad people. They don't want really deeply to cause harm. It's just that they're trying to be nice. They're trying to, like the soldiers, they're trying to protect their country. They're trying to protect their family. They're trying to protect their children. Like everything that is good is being hijacked by this ideology to make them do bad things. And my therapist, she has love for her children, Okay, and this is being hijacked to make her support a genocide.
Yeah,
to,
but
to
the
make her
love
support.
is true. But the love is honest.
The love is true.
Yeah.
This is the part that many people forget, that the love is true. They are real people with real emotions, but the emotions are being deformed and taken advantage of.
Yes.
And it
exactly.
also makes me think that there are things that today I have with word biological makeup. You will always, let's say, I think we're built to care more about our children than to care about other people's children. Like that's how we are, you know. And it's really easy to hijack this
Yes.
and to say,
Yes.
you want me to care about the children in Gaza more than I care about my own children? You know, like it's
Yeah.
very easy.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
yeah.
Of course. It's one of our primary urges, and that is why politicians always in their speeches, let's do it for our children. Like it's an important word.
That's why it's a meme. That's why it became a meme.
Yeah.
But the thing about nationalism and Zionism, so it makes you feel like there is this our children. Like why is Israeli children more our children for me than Palestine? Like the moment I, stepped out of it is like, it's both people. Okay, so maybe emotionally I care more about my closed ones, but then why do I need to care more about Israelis than I care about Palestinians? They're just people, Some of them I know and some of them I don't, but genuinely I care for all of them. Same.
So that is for me an example of when the higher function of empathy is working in harmony with the care system, and you're seeing things in a nuanced way.
And it's also feel more rational to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's do the game.
All right.
Give us a system, one of the 7 systems, and we will just pick one at random.
Okay, so we have talked about the fear. I've talked about the fear system already.
Yes, we talked about the fear.
Is there anything you want to add on the fear system?
I think the fear system people understand. Like there's this narrative of persecution of the Jewish people. Maybe there is one thing that
there's a lot to talk about it, but
yes, but there is one comment that we had when we. This is not the first time that we do all the parts of this discussion. We also talked a little bit, and when you talked about the collective fear, so Elik, I think you had some specific objection, right?
Yeah, because I saw that you talked about the collective fear of the Jews of persecution, that I think everybody knows why Jews have it, and it could be completely understandable. But then I thought, but it's not that it's like this collective fear is the fate of the Jewish people. It can be healed, and systems like Zionism don't allow it to heal.
Exactly. They keep reopening the wounds and saying the world is a dangerous place.
Yeah.
You shouldn't trust other people, other nations. When Netanyahu keeps going out to different, when he has speeches like, all Jews must return to Israel, as if they were in Israel and they have to return to it. And this is something I've learned from listening to Yaakov Shapiro, and he's like, but we Jews living in the diaspora, we want to live here. We don't want to return to Israel.
We never were there.
No.
Yeah, and you kind of say that US is not our country, but we live here.
And they're like, and they're like, don't say that because you're causing problems in our host countries, where we live, in which we feel more at home than anywhere else in the world. So
So we were playing a game.
Yes. So now.
No, but I had a point about the fear. I had a point. This is why I mentioned this. I had a point about the fear. Maybe, so we're saying the collective fear is also made up, right? But I think also we can think about the collective fear in the terms of this theory, where there is fear. There is fear of destruction. Fear of destruction is a basic system that any creature has, and this is being hijacked. This is being hijacked to the narrative, the narrative of collective persecution. Okay. So there is the narrative appears in Israeli, Zionist, Jewish, like it's all mixed up. But basically, I see it now. I see it as a Zionist narrative of the holidays. Okay, so you have Passover, where Pharaoh tried to destroy the Jewish people. You have Purim, where Xerxes tried to destroy the Jewish people. You have Hanukkah, where the Antiochus, the Greek emperor, tried to destroy the Jewish people, and so forth and so on. And you have Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Day, where the Nazis tried to destroy the Jewish people. And it said in Passover, בכל דור ודור קמים עלינו לכלותנו. We mentioned this in our podcast.
But I must mention something about it, because I think it's very important to raise this point.
Yeah.
Because the traditional narrative of the Judaism is exactly the opposite than the Zionist one. Because in each, and they were celebrating the same holidays. But what the point? And God save us. And God save us. And God save us. It's again and again and again, and God save us. And in Zionism, the state took the place of God. And that's why Yaakov Shapiro says it's like worshipping idols. You actually took the state, which is like a statue, it's an earthly thing, and you placed it instead of God. And I think that God save us could be, it doesn't mean you come to a new country and kick out all the people in it and build your own state. Maybe it means something else. Maybe it means you have to be more religious. I think it was meant for a religious indoctrination.
Which is already problematic.
Yeah, but it's different.
As we see, it's less problematic.
It's less because it doesn't necessarily inherently have violent implications, and Zionism does.
Zionism took the abstract religious argument, and they made it even more dangerous. They made it more dangerous, but by making it secular, by making it practical, by turning it into an actual project. And I want to finish the point about this narrative, okay? So this narrative, so you asked, how can the Zionists think of the Palestinians as Nazis? How can Feiglin say this crazy thing? And I think this is just the continuation of the narrative. So you say, the narratives hijack the basic functions of the brain, and then they stop the tertiary system. So there is this narrative of collective persecution, okay, historical, mystical, mythical, collective persecution of the Jewish people being completely hijacked even more because it was created by the Jewish religion, and then they take it and they crank it up by 9,000, okay? And you cannot help but continuing this narrative. So you have the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, the Nazis, and then, okay, so who's next? There must be someone now. And now it is the Palestinians. It must be the Palestinians and maybe Arabic nations, Iran, and like in general, the Islamic world. Okay, so this is the new Nazis, and they have to think like this because it's the only thing that fits the narrative. So their tertiary system is looking for some way to solve this cognitive dissonance, so that's what they do.
We can say that their tertiary processes are only working within the confines of this narrative. It cannot imagine anything different. And so they will be very limited. Cannot work beyond a certain scope.
And now I see it as even more evil because what is the tertiary system supposed to do? It's supposed to imagine. It's supposed to help us break the boundaries of the first two systems, and here it is being used to stop this. Like the first two systems, they stop the tertiary system from being able to push the boundaries and to free.
But what you actually says that the ideology take over all of the brain function, right? In a way, like it's in a way, all the emotional reaction are being interpreted in like. There's some kind of interpretation that conditions all your emotional reactions, or that's too much to say.
I mean, it's always to a certain extent. Like nothing is absolute. But we can say that what happens is that so on the primary level we have all these primary emotional systems, and then on the secondary level, these become conditioned into being directed towards certain objects, such as the Palestinians, or
that's why you feel it to Palestinians, but not to everybody.
Yes, exactly. So that is the point, that the narrative hijack the emotions into directing them into fulfilling the goal behind the narrative, for why the narrative is being disseminated. So that is the point. Yeah. So it's not like, you know, it takes over the whole brain and they become walking zombies. I mean, of course, that can happen, very extreme examples.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
In the army, you kind of do that.
Yeah.
It's so intense that you are becoming a 100% tool of somebody else.
To
They
a-
don't leave
to a
you.
large-
Yeah.
to a large extent, and
Yeah.
and that is why it seems to me that the army is a very, very, very important part of the process of Zionist
Yeah.
indoctrination,
Of course it is.
Yeah.
because it happens at a young age,
Yeah.
and it happens for such a long time. For is it 2-3 years?
And
3
it's
years.
designed
Yeah.
as an indoctrination tool also.
Exactly. So it's difficult for a young 18-year-old who's spending 3 years in the army, being fed with all this propaganda.
Yeah, they have no chance. Basically.
Yeah, and then they come out of it, and it's difficult. And I understand that. I understand that it's difficult. So
Yeah, so let's do the game again.
the game, yeah,
Yeah, pick one more.
the rage system.
The rage system. Oh, that's easy, right? That's easy.
Why?
October 7th happens,
Yes.
and then they go,
Yeah,
How dare they?
vengeance.
How dare they?
It takes rage and makes it to vengeance,
Yes.
for
yes,
example.
vengeance. It turns it into vengeance.
Exactly. Like they look. These are the ones that killed your loved ones. They raped your women.
Yes, yes, that's why
yeah.
it's so important
Yes.
to use rape, right?
Yes,
Because
you know.
sexuality is connected with rage, and then because
Yes.
rage is testosterone, sexuality is testosterone.
Yes.
So you need to say rape. They raped our girls, and if our girls are being raped, this immediately operates a reaction of rage. So rage,
Yeah.
and then it becomes hijacked to become
That's why I
vengeance.
always
That's a good
understood, because you know it's funny, because many horrible things did happen on October 7th,
Yes,
right?
but they
Like-
have to make up some stuff.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, why was what happened wasn't enough?
Enough,
for,
yeah. They had to-
Okay,
had to make
okay,
it
okay,
yeah.
okay. So here is the exercise.
Uh,
The baby in the oven story.
yeah.
Let
for
us just say
example-
this outright. There was no baby in the oven, and the new theory is that I heard a few days ago they put a baby in the microwave. It becomes grotesque.
Oh,
it
yeah,
becomes
okay,
even
okay, yeah.
in the microwave, not in the oven. In the
Yeah,
microwave,
yeah.
it's more grotesque. Okay, there was no baby in the oven. This does not suit any information, any actual facts that we have about October 7th. לא היה תינוק בתנור. לא היה. And I'm talking to my therapist now, who said, I broke down with baby in the oven. When I heard of the baby in the oven, I broke down and I had no more compassion.
Yeah, and that's when
Slicha.
I'm okay with babies exploded in rough. You know, it makes me. If you
Let's
think
not
it's
even
horrible,
let's
but
not even talk about
even
the-
if it was true, you know, that's the
Yeah.
that's so fucked
It's
up.
always
Even
two
if it
parts.
was true.
It's not true, and even if it were true, it's
Yeah.
always two parts. But it's not true. It's not true. לא היה תינוק בתנור. אין דבר כזה. אין סיבה לאבד את החמלה. לא היה תינוק בתנור. לא היה. זה לא קרה. נכון, יש דברים שקרו, ויש דברים שלא קרו, אז התינוק בתנור זה בסוג השני, אוקיי? זה לא קרה. זה פשוט לא קרה. זה פשוט כאילו לא
But what?
קרה, אוקיי? It just didn't happen. It did not happen. So there are things that happened. That's not one of them. I'm sorry. Okay.
So this is an example when the care system is
Yes, care system.
stronger than critical thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
And
if
that's
you think
tribalism, right? Tribalism make you what you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you just stop for a second and ask, like, but why would they put the baby in the oven?
Yeah.
Like maybe think about that first.
Or look
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the list of victims and see that there is no victim
Yeah,
that
of
can
course.
fit this description. It does. It cannot.
Yeah,
That
but
too.
also person with critical thinking would say, like, even if they came and planned to do the horrible stuff, who would do this and why would they do this?
Who
But
would,
also-
who would wait for the oven to
Also, look, oven.
Yeah.
What is the connotation? What is the connotation of the word oven in the
Holocaust.
Zionist The connotation
yeah.
is the
It's to
ovens.
invoke.
Yes.
It's to invoke this. This is now I'm starting to think that this was made up by this fucking guy who did the Children of the Generation of Victory. What's his name? I did an expose about this guy who's really mixing up all of Israeli media and politics, and he produced this song, this creepy song of like children talking about genocide.
You saw this one?
You saw this?
I think so, yeah.
When they're saying after a year there's nothing going to be left, and they think like the most Nazi thing.
And he's like behind many of the productions. He's behind the group Terrorists from a Different Angle and 72 Virgins, all these groups. Never mind. So I'm now thinking that the baby in the oven story is something that was engineered by guys like him, maybe him personally, engineered to fit like the narrative.
Because they also know
it fits so well, you know.
The manipulators know the stuff you're talking about, and they know that after the emotional response already invoked after the lie, it doesn't matter if you tell the people the truth after, because the emotional response
it doesn't matter.
is already there.
Yes, exactly.
And then with rationality you cannot defeat it.
No. And exactly, like so once the emotional program is set, it's hard to penetrate it.
Ofer Rosenbaum is his name. Ofer Rosenbaum. We're naming names. Ofer Rosenbaum. You're a piece of shit.
You're a Nazi.
But this is nothing new to Zionism. Zionism has been brainwashing Jewish people since day one. They have been indoctrinating them, as I learned from Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro. This indoctrination happened from the days of Herzl.
Let's just say who Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro is.
Yes.
Just a small context.
I can say a little bit about it
okay.
because he really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Me too.
I first learned about Yaakov Shapiro from listening to your podcast, and I heard that Elik, you mentioned him and you were reading his book. So I was curious, and I listened to a podcast, and then I bought the book and I started reading it. And finally things made sense. How the whole conflict started. And what is Zionism? How it had always surprised me how a group of Jews in Europe actually convinced the British government to give them a piece of land.
Balfour.
But the Balfour actually, how did they do it? How did they convince them? But what I learned from Yaakov Shapiro is that Zionism is not only it's a Christian ideology.
Yes, the evangelical Christians.
The evangelical Christians.
We had an episode on this podcast.
About it as well.
We had an episode on this podcast with Nathan Jordan, who was born into this even crazier cult of evangelical Christians who are all Zionists and they're all zombies. He describes this. They're all completely possessed with this virus, and there are 80 million people in the United States. All of them, most of them are well-to-do people. They have a lot of financial power. They have a lot of political power. And they are completely bonkers. They are completely crazy. And they believe in a story. They believe that this will happen. Just believe that this will happen. That the reason that the Jews came to Palestine is to start the prophecy of Armageddon, where 2/3 of the Jews will die, 2/3 of everyone will die, only the evangelical Christians will stay, and there will be redemption, and blah, 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 but like a holy war, okay?
But the thing is, and this is what you're saying, that they thought about it before the Jews.
So it's Zionism is in its origins, it's not Jewish, it's Christian, and it started, according to Shapiro, in the 1500s.
Yes.
And then this added a totally new dimension of depth to the conflict. I'm like, the suffering we're going through now started as an idea.
Yes.
In the 1500s.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable.
And that idea grew and spread and took form and started becoming a political movement.
But I have so many ideas. Why they don't materialize and become movements?
Because these ideas. So I am going to bring Dan Ben-Ishai here, okay? So Dan would say, if he were here, he would make this face like, they don't know what they're talking about, okay? Dan, it's a condescending face, but I like it. So he would say, these guys they don't know what they're talking about because they're putting idea in front of material conditions. But I'm a centrist, I'm a true centrist. And
You're nothing but a centrist.
I'm a truth centrist, and I want to combine these two ideas. Okay, truly I am a centrist. I believe that everyone has a point. Okay? So these two ideas. So there are material conditions. Okay, and the ideas, they come and they either work with the material conditions or they don't work with the material conditions, and they also affect the material conditions, because Zionism is an idea that spread because of specific material conditions that allowed it to spread, but then it kind of got accelerated because of the, and then it started creating more material conditions, like Jews taking land and taking resources away from Palestinians, just creating the system of supremacy, and then it strengthens the ideology and so forth and so on.
Yes, it becomes
a self-perpetuating
cycle.
Absolutely, yes, exactly.
Yeah, so Yaakov Shapiro, I just want to say something, because this is it. For the first time, I understood. I've known from before that Judaism is not the same as Zionism, but this was when I finally understood it, like really understood it.
Yes.
Because many times you know things, but in the back of your mind you have like a lingering doubt. But maybe Judaism has within it the seeds of Zionism. But now I understand that no, not only are they totally different, but they're antithetical to each other.
Yes.
Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism.
Yes.
And that was it was such a relief, because for the first time I'm like, okay.
I don't have to be anti-Semitic.
Yes,
But that's why I'm saying that I feel that what the anti-Zionist Jews are now doing is saving Judaism.
Yes.
And
yes, ironically.
And maybe also healing the world from anti-Semitism.
Yes. So they say that we are self-hating Jews. No. If we are Jews, we are self-loving ones.
Yes.
I agree. So let's do, just to finish this part of the conversation, let's do one more of the exercise. Give us another system, and we will give an example of how Zionism hijacks it.
Okay, let's talk about the grief system.
Grief, that's a big one. Okay, Elik, you want to start?
I think, wow, it could be a whole episode.
Yeah.
About grief in Zionism in Israel, because it's a grief culture that makes you feel sorry about only a certain group of people.
Yes.
And you, in one hand, you need to be in a state of perpetual grief, and on the other hand, you're never allowed to feel full grief.
Yes.
And think about this situation in October 7th. If we were a healthy society, we would say, let's take a pause. We don't react immediately, and we grieve completely. We feel the revenge. We let everything out. We still have an army. We protect the borders. We sure we're protected. We do full grieving session to about what happened.
Yes.
And then we think rationally about what are the options in reality, how to react. It was never done. Like and then we're stuck in a perpetual grief that is never felt till the end.
It wasn't just not done. It was also like we suggested it. Like the radical left always said this. Let's try to think rationally. And also, like, there was this weird agreement between radical leftists and military people who were on the ground who agreed that we should do it rationally. Okay?
Yes.
But then October 7th, really disrupted everything.
Yes.
Yes, so we see, like, how anger is translated to revenge, and also grief is translated to revenge all the time.
Yeah. What I thought about when it comes to grief is the collective grief about the Holocaust.
Yes.
That is a deep trauma, and that can be manipulated.
Yes.
As it is, it becomes the victimhood narrative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are the victim, then we are justified in in doing anything we want or anything we need to.
Yeah.
So there is a sense that this grief takes over and doesn't allow you to think rationally.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
also doesn't allow you to do the full healing. Because I think when I, fantasizing about the full reconciliation process that will happen here one day, like Palestinians and Israelis and Jews gonna grieve collectively together about all the death and the pain that they, and Palestinians will grieve with Jews about the Holocaust, and they will grieve with Palestinians about the Nakba and about what happens now in Gaza, and it will be, and there is so much pain that is blocked,
Yes.
because I feel grief is this smart mechanism that understand that when you suffer really extreme, life-threatening situation, when you lose somebody, you need to feel the emotions. Otherwise, you cannot
Yes,
heal.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the purpose of grief.
Yeah.
To bring people together, to help each other in dealing with that traumatic event. That is why grief is considered a social emotion.
Yes.
Grief is not present in reptiles, for example. It is only present in mammals.
Mm.
So it is something that is dependent on us being together in
Yes.
a community.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Because you cannot deal with it by yourself. Like, I think if you lost someone close, how you're going to deal with it without a community? How
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
going to...
Yes, exactly.
But what's so sad, and it hurts me, that even though I'm, let's say, healed from this many infecting aspects of this ideology, I also cannot grieve, because I don't have empathy now for the Israeli losses, because every time it is mentioned, I feel how it is used to justify killing
Yes.
of more
Yes,
innocents.
yes.
It's blocking.
So
the
every time I
opportunity to
hear
really
about
grieve.
the hostages, and I feel like this block
Yes.
in my heart, because
Yes.
I feel, yeah, you're right, I also want the hostages back, but you're using this excuse to kill more people, and I feel like I cannot give the empathy, and then my Zionist society, they look at me and they say, look, you have no empathy to
Yeah.
our pain, you have no, and I don't know how to get out of it,
Yeah, I agree. It is difficult to feel empathy towards it. When you feel that you're being manipulated, your defenses go up.
Yes.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
you're not gonna manipulate me without emotional talk. It's the same thing within a close relationship.
Yeah.
If somebody is trying to guilt trip you, for example, like, no, I don't want to have
Yeah.
anything of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it is a natural
Response.
reaction. Yeah.
Maybe we go to the solutions part.
Yeah, or
Yes.
maybe, I want to invite our audience. I think we could talk about this for hours more, but maybe let's invite our audience to write a comment. Like, pick one of the systems and explain how the Zionist ideology manipulates this mechanism, like we
don't
did
know
this
if they
exercise.
really-
Let's continue this exercise.
We should write the systems in the comments after.
Yes, so
Yeah.
this is engagement. I'm doing engagement,
Yeah.
okay? They told
Okay.
me that I need to do engagement. Okay? Okay. So, let's we wanted to start from you telling us a little bit about yourself, but we've been talking for a long time and we haven't even gotten to it. So just tell us a little bit about your own story and your experiences, in general.
So I was born in Jerusalem, and I grew up in Jerusalem till I was 13, and then we moved to Jordan, and then when I was 18, I moved to Europe to study medicine. And growing up in Jerusalem, I've never been aware of there not being an occupation. So the occupation has always been a constant presence.
Yeah.
And as a child, you don't understand the politics. You don't understand. All you understand is that there are soldiers,
Yeah.
and they want to kill us. They're bad, because why would they otherwise be holding a gun?
Yeah. They're not soldiers who are there to protect you.
No, definitely not. So there is already this fear growing up as a Palestinian child that be careful of the Israeli soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the most powerful guys around, right? It's not that there's somebody can fight them if they decide to do something to you, like that have enough power to stop them.
Yeah, to some extent, because they have superior, weapons and military capabilities.
Yeah.
That was always there in the background. The first time I ever felt anger, I remember it very clearly. I was I think 7 years old, and it was at the start of the second Intifada. And so my father had just come home, and he had been at the Friday prayer, where the place where the second Intifada started. And my mother was very worried because she was hearing about the killings and about the shootings. And then finally he come home, and she was relieved. And then they talked in secret. He told her about what had happened, and he didn't want to tell me because I was too young. But I overheard their conversation, and I heard my father said, "I just saw so much blood, and that really affected me as a child. And what happened then was that I withdrew. I went into my room, and I closed the door, and I just sat with the emotion that was emerging, and that emotion was anger.
Talked about rage.
Yes.
Yes, but this is the really connected rage, like the true one that is justified and like it fits the circumstances. It's not something that is being manipulated. It's just real. It's real.
But I think in the heart all the emotions have a real base, just what you do with them in a way, right?
Yes. Yeah, so and I felt this sense of that I need to do something. I need to fight. I need to protect my country, my loved ones.
Yeah.
I remember that moment very, very clearly.
How old you were?
7.
7 years old.
Yeah, it things that kids understand, like my family is in threat, I want to protect it. You feel it already when you're 7.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And the sense that it's wrong that there is blood on the ground.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Children know this. Children know. But adults sometimes forget it.
Yeah, and I was in Jerusalem at the same time. I don't know. I was. How old were I? I'm not so old. Like I'm 34. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Yeah, so I remember.
So you were
these
like 10 years old.
In Jerusalem. Yeah.
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 What do you remember from this time?
It was time that there was a lot of suicide bombings. I didn't experience anything directly, and I don't think. And but. It was. I don't have a... Maybe because, I think Israelis also experienced violence.
Yes.
But it's not on the same level.
Yeah.
It's not on the same, interference of daily life, of occupation. It's like, you hear that there's suicide bombing somewhere, and it does scare you.
But I do remember the fear of the suicide bombings. I do remember feeling it. I was a little bit older. And I do remember the fear. I remember you could randomly be on the bus and just explode, there would be a bomb, and this is really scary.
It is scary.
It is scary.
I was somehow shielded by emotion.
My thing is the point is that you can build a hierarchy of feeling of insecurity, not feeling safe and oppression and violence. But it takes very little to really make you go back to the primal part of the brain, and the suicide bombings were enough Okay, and October 7th was enough. And of course, on the other side, on the imagined other side, there is much more violence, but it doesn't matter even because it's like already enough. It's like so much violence. This is why we want all the violence to stop.
Yes.
Because just a little bit of violence is enough to make people like react horribly.
Yeah, and it's horrible when it happens to one person, and
Yeah.
it's horrible when it happens to thousands. It's like,
Okay, so maybe let's say a few words just about the solution. Just
but
like
I
briefly.
wanted to
Yeah.
mention something from conversation that we had before, because I thought
Yeah.
it's interesting that I asked you where you grew up, and then you said like that it was in Wadi Joz, right?
Yes.
In Jerusalem, and that your family were from Western Jerusalem, and I
Yes.
asked from where, and you said from
Katamon.
Katamon, which where I grew up in Western Jerusalem. So I lived on the place where your family got kicked out in 48. And then, and before that, we talked about why is it so hard for Zionists to change their mind. So that's the reason, I think. It's like questioning it's your basic, it's your childhood, you know. I grew
Yes.
up thinking everything is just fine. you
So
know.
what do you feel about this?
Now?
Yes.
You know, I thought that it could be nice gesture that if your families see to tell them that I wish that they could come back to their, you know, to live to Katamon and we'd be neighbors.
Yes.
Like this is one thing that I wanted to say, but I don't know, I just feel painful and sad. This is but it's also nice that we can sit here, I think, and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because you didn't choose this.
Yeah.
You were born into it.
Yeah.
And you took responsibility
Mm-hmm.
for like what happened, like not that you caused it, but
Yeah.
you took responsibility for your ancestors, and you started a healing process through that you stood up and said, no, I refuse.
Yeah, makes me very emotional suddenly. Yeah.
So I feel like this connects to what we said about living in Palestine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you started living in Palestine, I think, and this is how
Maybe.
you make up, and this leads me again to the solution. Okay, so let's start talking about. So let's because we've been talking for a long time. Let's do 5 minutes of the. Elik, you're tearing up.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good
Found
sign.
It's an authentic
It means-
moment.
yes,
That's the moment they try to catch all the times, right?
Yeah. So this is so let's try to use this authentic moment to start speaking for 5 minutes about the solution. So you had the points that you brought, right?
Yes. So when it comes to these primitive emotions that have been hijacked through the indoctrination process, as we said before, it is difficult to have a rational conversation with somebody who is possessed by these primitive forces, by
Mhm.
these primary emotions. So what is to be done if we can't reach out to them through argument?
Okay.
And here what is needed is something which in psychology is called a corrective experience.
Okay.
So it is not about convincing them. It is about giving them an experience, an emotional experience that corrects the indoctrination.
Yes.
Mm.
So for example,
Yes.
fear, like a person who is fear conditioned
Yes.
towards something, what they need is to be exposed to that object, to that stimuli, and they will no longer be afraid of it. After
Yeah.
a certain time, they will learn that, there's nothing to fear here.
Yeah.
This is, when it comes to the Palestinian and Israeli conflict, this is prevented by the fact that it's so segregated.
Yes.
Palestinians and Israelis are never given the chance to meet.
Yeah, you had to watch our podcast from Sweden instead,
Yes.
and we didn't meet as people who live in the same city.
Yes, otherwise there would be no chance to,
Yeah.
to
And
get
we
to know
meet
you guys.
only through this, social limited interjection, like taxi driver would be
Yeah.
Palestinian.
Yes.
You see
Yeah.
the construction workers. This is how we do interact, like when and
Yeah,
there's
only in
really-
indirect ways.
Yeah, and
The ways
also
that
the classes of
Yeah.
it's very separated, so you feel like
It's not really meeting people.
yeah,
Yeah. So we're trying to correct it now.
yeah,
Yes.
We're trying to do that.
This is an example of
Yeah.
of a corrective experience.
Yes.
You meet somebody and then you learn through experience that this person is not dangerous,
Yes.
this person does not hate me,
Yes.
and this person could maybe even love me.
Yes.
And that is a corrective experience. And this is how we fight indoctrination. This is how we fight Zionism. Zionism is a racist ideology that
Yes.
builds on separation and segregation. If we break down the walls, then the indoctrination stands no chance, because like the whole issue, the whole conflict, what is it at its root? It's a demographic conflict.
yeah.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
two people living on a land, and they both say this land is ours.
Yeah.
So it's a demographic conflict, and therefore the solution has to be a demographic solution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So
That's
how on the demographic level do you do this?
This is what we call the one-state solution.
That's
Okay.
you integrate. You don't look for more separation. You look
Yes.
for opposite.
Yes, you try to promote different ways to meet, to talk,
Yes.
to gather, not to convince one another, not to have necessarily only have conversations, but just to meet
Yes.
and to maybe become friends.
Yes.
Okay, so on this positive note, let's just invite our audience to maybe when you specify some system, also when we discuss how Zionism has warped this system and hijacked this system, also try to come up with practical ways of healing this, maybe. Okay, so how can talking to each other or being in like positive interactions with each other can help heal this defect, this hijacking mechanism.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we need to. How do you? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to convince. Like I feel like for. The thing is that the people who are still like Jews that feel like we need this state of our own. They have this. They identified their own existence and communal existence with the existence of the state.
Yes.
And I don't know how you dismantle this. Maybe this is part of it, by and I think many Jews actually this is what they wanted. They wanted to find a way that they can still hold on to who they are,
Yes.
but still be part of the world and be safe.
Yes.
And Zionism is a kind of very lame answer to this real problem and question that Jews had, and they will still have, like people who hold to any special identity. They have this problem.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be a problem, actually. It could be just, I'm happy to be Jewish.
Yes. Yes. There doesn't have to be a Jewish state
Yeah.
for there to exist a thriving Jewish community.
Yes, of course.
And we want to build a safe world for everybody, right? That's the...
And I personally prefer to be Hebrew Palestinian than Jewish.
Yeah.
I don't get like I want to be just living in Palestine, just geographically I'm Palestinian and like that, and then I'm Hebrew because Hebrew is my culture.
Yes.
This is what I want. This is like and this works for me. Why doesn't it work for you
Yeah,
guys?
and also after, and you know, it can be also, you will become, let's say, the Palestinian part of you, like of the Arab, like you will become more Arab by a natural process of
Yes.
living with the people who live here. You
Yes.
know, like it's a
Just
and
talking to people.
yeah, and maybe your children will have it as a second mother tongue. You know,
Yes,
it will
yes,
happen.
Arabic.
Yeah, so
And this process of integration, it might not be easy in our generation, but with the second and third generation,
Yeah.
it will be much easier and easier. So
yeah.
all we
Yeah.
have to do is apply a little effort in the beginning, and then the ball starts rolling.
So
On its
we are
own.
planting the seeds
Yes.
Yeah.
for an olive tree
Yes.
of peace.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everybody for listening to this again very long episode of
That could be even longer. I feel
Yes.
like we could continue on and
so
on and on.
so maybe we can continue this conversation and go even deeper in this theory and how it applies to Zionism and other cults or structures of domination and supremacy and ideology. And thank you very much, Saleh,
Thank you.
and thank you, Elik. And any final remarks?
Um,
Oh, you wanted to say something in Arabic, right?
First, I'm gonna say
Explain something.
what I will, in short, what I will say, and then I will, then I will give a translation of what I say.
Okay.
So, among many Palestinians, there is this fear of reaching out to anti-Zionists Israelis, because there is the stigma in Palestinian society of not wanting to become a traitor. And this is for good reason. You don't want to be a collaborator. To be a collaborator with the occupation is the worst thing you can be. It's at the bottom.
And rightly so.
And rightly so.
Because
of
it's
course.
one of the main tools of the occupation. It's not a small thing.
Exactly. So Palestinians, we have to protect ourselves by pointing out traitors and saying
Yeah.
that's totally unacceptable. But what I want to say is that anti-Zionist Israelis and anti-Zionist Jews are our friends. These are our friends. And they are among, they can help the Palestinian cause tremendously, because they are a living example that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. Okay, so now I will say it in Arabic.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. اللي بدي أقوله هو إنه في الخوف من إنه بالمجتمع الفلسطيني عنا في هذا الهاجس إنه ما بدنا إن نتواصل مع إسرائيليين، مش مهم إذا كانوا متشددين أو متحررين أو إذا كانوا صهيونيين أو غير صهيونيين. خلص هدول إسرائيليين وإحنا ما بدنا نطبع معهم، لا للتطبيع. وطبعا هذا الإشي مفهوم، لأنه اللي بطبع أو أسوأ اللي العميل اللي بيخون بلده، هذا يعني طبعا هذا إشي كتير سيء. هذا أسوأ إشي ممكن تكونه، لأنك كنت عم تخون بلدك. ولكن اللي بدي أقوله إنه نتواصل مع إسرائيليين هم ضد الصهيونية هو مش تطبيع، ومش بس هيك، هو بيساعد القضية الفلسطينية. هدول مش أعدائنا، هدول أصدقائنا. عدونا هي الحركة الصهيونية. فأي حدا هو ضد الصهيونية معناته هو حليفنا. احنا هيك لازم نفكر. الشغلة مش شغلة عرقية ولا شغلة دينية، الشغلة شغلة مبادئ. الصهيونية هي المبدأ أو هي الأيديولوجية اللي إحنا بدنا نحاربها. وأي حدا بحارب هاي الأيديولوجية هو صديق إلنا، هو حليف إلنا. وعشان هيك أنا تواصلت مع ألون وإليك، لأنه أنا فهمت من أول ما شفتهم، من أول مقابلة شفتها لهم على اليوتيوب، إنه هدول أصدقائنا، ولازم إننا نحط إيدينا بإيدين بعض ونوقف إيد واحدة ضد الصهيونية. وشكرا.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I didn't understand every word, but I think it was well spoken.
Thank you. I felt like a politician.
We are all politicians in some way because everything is political, right?
Yeah.
Everything we do is political, and this is highly political. We have to admit
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
But we're honest. I think that's.
We're
the
trying to be
difference.
honest. Yes, this
I
is
think the moment you stop being honest to try to, even if you say it to yourself from good reason, like the moment you're not honest about your goals and you say I have to become more pragmatic, so
Yeah.
I don't tell the
this is when you become a politician in
Yeah.
that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so thank you everybody, and peace and justice for all.
Yeah.